There's a moment in a film that doesn't just grab you. It pulls you into a different rhythm, a different world. It's not dialogue, not action, but something quieter, more elusive. A sound that feels like it's breathing with you. That moment is often the hook. It's not just a melody, but an invitation to listen closely, to feel the pulse of something unresolved, something waiting to be shaped. This is the sound of improvisation. No script, no plan. Just a moment, a breath, and the world unfolding in real time. It's not just music. It's a language that bypasses words, that speaks to something deeper, something universal. A language of feeling, of space, of time. And in that moment, you realize that jazz isn't just played. It's lived. And it's waiting for the right story to carry it forward. When we talk about jazz, improvisation, and cinematic soundtracks, we're not just discussing music. We're talking about a kind of emotional spontaneity, a raw, unfiltered expression that breathes life into the silence between the lines of a story. In film, improvisation isn't about chaos. It's about precision in the moment, a way to mirror the unpredictability of human experience, the way characters feel when they're caught between choices. It's the moment when a melody doesn't follow the script, when it bends, swells, or falls away, leaving the audience to feel something they can't name, a quiet truth that lingers in the air. In cinema, jazz improvisation becomes a kind of emotional alchemy. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the silent into the spoken, the unresolved into the understood. It's not about showing everything. It's about showing the spaces in between, the pauses, the hesitations, the breaths that make a story feel real and a score feel alive. So when we talk about jazz and cinematic soundtracks, we're not just talking about sound. We're talking about the soul of a story, the moment when music becomes a kind of invisible character, guiding us through the silence. You think you don't care about jazz improvisation in film? Maybe you don't. But somewhere in your subconscious, you're already responding to it. That moment when the music swells, breaks, and dances with the emotion of the scene. It's not just sound. It's a language you've been listening to all your life without ever knowing it. Every great film has a heartbeat, and that heartbeat is often improvised. It's not scripted. It's not planned. It's the sound of a musician choosing, in that split second, how to feel. That's what makes the scene move you, even when you can't explain why. Improvisation in film music is like a secret conversation between the artist and the audience. It's a way of saying, this is what I feel, and I hope you feel it too. That connection is what turns a scene from being seen into being felt. You don't need to be a musician to understand this. You don't even need to be a film lover. But if you've ever felt something in a movie, something you couldn't name, then you've already been touched by this hidden art. It's the music that doesn't tell you what to feel, but helps you find it. So maybe you don't know it, but you've been dancing to jazz in the dark all along. That's why you should secretly care. Because in every film, there's a moment where the music breaks free, and that's where the magic happens. In the early 1920s, jazz was a revolution, raw and unfiltered, bursting from speakeasies into the world. It was a language without words, a heartbeat in the dark, and it found its way into the earliest soundtracks, where it spoke to the soul of the story. By the 1940s, jazz had matured into something more complex, more cinematic. It wasn't just background noise anymore. It was emotion, rhythm, and story, woven into the fabric of film like a character in its own right. The 1960s brought modal jazz, and with it, a deeper exploration of sound. Filmmakers like John Carpenter and Bernard Herrmann began to use jazz not just for atmosphere, but to sculpt the very architecture of sound in film. By the 1980s, jazz improvisation had become a symbol of freedom and innovation in cinema. Directors like Spike Lee and David Lynch embraced it, using it to blur the line between reality and dream, between sound and silence. Imagine you're drawing a picture, but every time you pick up your crayon, it changes color on its own. That's kind of what jazz improvisation is like. It's music made up right then, not planned ahead. In a movie, that music is like a secret language that helps you feel things without words. It's like when you're scared, and the music makes you feel that fear without saying it out loud. Before the first note is played, there's a quiet tension, a holding of breath. The composer knows the scene, the mood, the emotion to be conveyed. It's not about precision, but about possibility. The setup is the foundation, a subtle framework that allows improvisation to bloom. It's the composer's intention, the emotional compass, the guide that doesn't dictate but suggests. The setup is not a cage, but a canvas. It's where the boundaries of sound are drawn, not to limit, but to inspire. It's the silent agreement between composer and performer. This is where the story begins to unfold, not through planning, but through listening. The setup is the first breath of the improvisation, the opening note of a conversation yet to happen. The first step is to build a foundation, a framework of melody, harmony, and rhythm. But it's not rigid. It's a skeleton, not a cage, allowing the spirit of the moment to breathe through it. Then comes the moment of choice. The musician listens, feels, and reacts, not just to the music, but to the space, the silence, and the unseen presence of the audience, even if they're not there. This is where the musician becomes both composer and performer, where the past and present collide, and where the future of the music is written in the moment. It's a fragile, fleeting thing, this moment of creation. It exists only while it is being made, and then it vanishes, leaving only the memory of it in the air. The clever twist is where the improvisation doesn't just follow the rules, it bends them. It's the moment the music finds a new path, unexpected but entirely logical, as if the composer had always known it would happen. This isn't chaos. It's a deliberate act of storytelling. The twist introduces a new emotional tone, a shift in mood that mirrors a character's realization or a turning point in the narrative. The clever twist is a bridge between the known and the unknown. It's where the audience is pulled into the music's world, where they can't just watch, they can feel. In cinema, this twist is the moment the score doesn't just sound good. It sounds right. It becomes a character in its own right, shaping the story, even as it is shaped by it. There's a rhythm to chaos, a pulse beneath the noise, a kind of natural order that improvisation mimics. It's not random, it's a language of possibility, shaped by the musician's ear and the moment's gravity. In cinema, this same pulse is felt in the spaces between notes, in the silence that holds a moment in suspension. The improviser becomes the director of time, shaping the story with each breath and each note. It's a kind of alchemy, turning uncertainty into meaning. The improviser doesn't just play. They create a bridge between the known and the unknown, between the self and the world. In the end, jazz improvisation in film is about trust. Trust in the music, trust in the moment, and trust in the viewer's ability to feel, to remember, to be moved by what is not written. Think of a jazz improvisation as a river. It has its course, its currents, its hidden depths, but it's never the same twice. It flows through the same landscape, yet always finds new paths. A cinematic score is like the sky above that river, vast, open, and full of possibilities. It doesn't dictate the path, but it holds the space where the improvisation can unfold. The improviser is like a bird in flight, It has freedom, but it also has instinct, memory, and a sense of where it's going. It may twist and turn, but it's guided by the wind and the earth below. And the audience, the viewer, is like the river itself. It's not just being carried, but it's also shaping the flow. It's a shared journey, a living, breathing thing. So in the end, jazz improvisation in a film score isn't just about sound. It's about motion, about space, about the invisible forces that guide the music and the story forward. Before you go, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell us in the comments what you'd like us to make next. We read every single one. Thank you so much for watching. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.